Watch this. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Metal Roofing Channel. I'm Thad Barnett. If you're interested in buying your very own portable roll former, it's important that you get to see panels actually running through that machine. So I'm here at New Tech Machinery in Aurora, Colorado with my buddy Tim. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Thank you for having me.
So we've got an SSQ3, brand new SSQ3 here, and Tim is gonna walk me through the steps on how to run my first panel in this machine. So Tim, let's start with safety first,
right,
and then let's jump over to the entry end and kind of work our way down the machine.
Yeah, we want to keep all the covers on. They're very important. All the covers have sensors on them. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that all the covers are on, and then we're ready to roll.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let's go back to the entry end and we'll take a look.
All right, sounds good.
So here we are at the entry end of the machine. So this is where the material feeds in underneath these drum rollers. We've got some material here. Tim, what should be my first couple of steps on this side of the machine?
So the first thing we're gonna do is when you go to feed coil in, you always want what we call dog ear the coil ends.
Okay.
So basically what that does is all we're gonna do is, when we train customers, we usually tell them, anywhere from like a 2x2 triangle. So we're just going to basically cut off the corner of the material.
Okay.
And what this does is that allows the material to travel through the machine for the first time without snagging on anything, and it makes it easier to get it through the shear at the very end. This way, if you had corners on there, you can imagine it'd probably be catching on a lot of things.
Got it.
So we're gonna cut the corners off of our material before we feed it in.
Okay, sounds good. What about coil width? Am I gonna wanna make sure my entry guide is set up and my coil or my profile is set up correctly?
Correct. The first thing you wanna do is you wanna measure what the machine was sent in. Normally, here at New Tech, we use all 20-inch coil. That's a pretty popular coil width, so that's what most of our customers will probably use. But the first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna measure your coil, and what we recommend is the easiest thing to do is to cut off about 2 feet of the coil you're using. Okay? That way you're handling a small piece of coil instead of the whole roll.
Sure.
And then you can easily put it in the entry guides and make sure that your guides are set to the width of the coil. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure the coil goes in and out nice and easy with no side-to-side movement.
Yep, okay. And that information is in the manual.
It is.
New Tech's got videos on how to set up the entry guide. But in this video, we're really focused on, let's say we've got it set up, we got our correct coil width, so now let's feed the material in.
Okay, let's do it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to go back over there and we're gonna get the motor started and make sure that the machine's running, and we'll get going from there.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
So this machine has got the gas power pack outfitted. You can also have an electric motor if you want, but how do we set up the gas engine to make sure that our machine is ready to go?
So the first thing you're gonna wanna do when you get your machine is make sure that the fuel is turned on. When we ship our machines, and we also recommend that when you're not running your machine or traveling with your machine, you always shut the gas off. That way you don't have any mishaps with the fuel. So we're gonna make sure that our fuel's on, which it already is.
Okay.
And of course, with our new SSQ3 feature, we can actually start the gas engine from right here instead of having to go down at the computer end.
Okay. Does it matter what throttle? How does that impact things?
It doesn't. Right now it's probably set somewhere in the middle. Usually what I tell customers, if you're not in a big rush or anything, I usually set it to right around that 3,000 RPM for them.
Okay.
What the manual will state is that this gas engine will do anywhere from, I believe it's 55 feet per minute up to 75 feet per minute, depending on where you have your throttle. And you do have an RPM gauge there on the side when it's running, so that you can do it, get it set where you want it.
So before we turn the motor on, let's go to the exit end of the machine, and you can talk me through, once we turn everything on, what the steps are gonna be.
Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do when we're loading the machine for the first time is I always recommend just leaving this in manual. You're gonna see you're gonna have a manual auto switch here. The auto, of course, is gonna run the computer. The manual runs, of course, your manual switches down here. I even consider it more safe. Just that way you have more control over the machine and you're kind of taking it easy. So the first thing I'm gonna do is make sure that that's in manual position.
Okay, sounds good.
You're gonna check all your e-stop buttons to make sure that they're all disengaged. This one and the one down at the entry end, we made sure that they were all disengaged. The next thing you're gonna do after that is you're gonna turn your main power switch on. This is your main power switch on the side over here. When you are operating with a gas power pack, we do recommend that you always turn that off. It's kind of like leaving the headlights on in your car. So we're gonna turn that on, and that's gonna give this computer a second to boot up for us.
Okay. The SSQ3 is the unique control system as an option, right? So
Yes.
what does this allow you to do?
What this allows you to do is you have so many different kind of features in here. You can program up to 100 different jobs in them, all different lengths if you need them. You can even import and export jobs from your computer and load them on here if needed. You can change all the units of measure. You can, there's just a wide variety of ways to operate these. You can run manual parts out if you need it. You mess up a part, you could go just, instead of changing any of your batches in there, you can just easily run a single part.
Gotcha, and not to mention the built-in safety features as well that the Unique has.
Yeah, correct. I mean, you can even see on some of our new screens here, you do have a cover status screen, and with the new SSQ3, if you have a cover disengaged and for some reason maintenance mode is up, it'll tell you which cover is missing or disengaged.
Okay, once the motor's on, we've got material fed through. What's our next steps then? Are we jogging the material through to the shear? How does that work?
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start once I start the motor, we're gonna start at the entry end, and I'm gonna use the manual controls at the entry end, and I'm just basically getting the material started into the drive rollers. Ready? Okay, here we go. It's really important that you make sure that the coil's not turned at all and you're feeding it in good and straight.
Okay.
We have seen issues where if you do get it sideways a little bit, it might track off to the side. So just make sure that you're nice and straight in there. And I'm just gonna bump the machine forward a few times, basically letting the initial drive roller grab the material and start pulling it through. With our new SSQ3 feature again, I'm gonna bring that up again. We do have windows in all of our covers, so it's very easy to watch the material go through the machine.
Nice.
I'm gonna bring it about halfway through while I'm down at the entry end. And then you'll see, then we'll come down here and I'll watch for it again, and that's when I'll start jogging it. Slowly jog it through, don't get in a hurry.
Yep.
You don't want to catch anything. And basically all we're doing is we're gonna get it into a position to where we're sticking out of our shear guard about 12 inches. We want to cut the end of the material off where we cut our corners.
Okay.
So we're gonna stick that out about 12 inches, then we'll cut it off, and then you're ready to program a machine.
Awesome. So we've got our panel here. And what should I be looking for, to make sure that I'm ready to go for my job when I'm looking at this panel?
So, yeah, no, technically, this is a pretty short piece, of course. We just kind of ran out a small one to take a look at. But while we're running it manually, the first thing I recommend after that is probably running around a 5 or 6 foot piece.
Okay. You
want to check all your dimensions to make sure that they match the prints inside of the manual, to make sure all your dimensions are correct, especially if you're going UL or getting everything rated on that way.
Yep.
So you want to make sure all your dimensions are correct, and then you're also going to make sure that the panel is nice and straight. When you get a machine for the first time, by running different coil than what we have here at the shop, it could react differently.
Okay.
So you just want to make sure, it's really important that you make sure that your panel's running a good straight panel. And then once you get that done, then you're ready to start running the job.
Okay, and not to mention looking out for, any potential, if it's scratching on the exit guard or anything like that, making sure that that's good to go.
You want to make sure that your stiffening ribs are how you like them, because they are adjustable. You can put them how you want. This is our striation that's in here right now. You can add more. You can see there's these flat spots on either side.
Yep.
So you can add more striations to them. This is our clip relief on each side, right there. So.
Okay, awesome.
So the first thing we're gonna do now that we checked our panels and made sure all the dimensions were good and everything is straight, we're gonna go ahead, and this is where you'd program your jobs. Now, I don't have a job to download or anything, so we're just gonna go and start programming some jobs. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the job entry screen.
Okay.
You gotta make sure that you're gonna be switching out of manual mode, because now we wanna go into auto, okay? So you can see there's already a job programmed in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and just delete everything that's in there and get rid of it, as we're gonna start over. So I'm just gonna do something basic and just add in a couple of parts right there. So as soon as you say add part, it's gonna come to this screen. This screen will make a lot more sense once you program more jobs and more jobs. So right now I'm gonna start just putting it at the top of the cut list here. These are your options to program in a job. Section, the sections in there are sometimes different lengths. They have the roof sectioned off by different numbers. so they can label them of saying this pile goes here, this one goes here. So that's what that is. You can leave it with nothing in it. So we're gonna leave that 0. So the first thing we're gonna do is quantity. We'll do 2 pieces. And then the length, right now, our lengths, this is set in inches. But really quickly, if we go out of here and if you go into machine setup, you can see all the different options you have for.
Got it.
So I'm gonna change this to fractional feet inches because that's what I like. So we'll go back to job entry. We're gonna add in a part at the top of the cut list, quantity 2 pieces. This is your enter button right here. And then it's gonna automatically bring you back to this screen. So now we're gonna add in a part. So we're gonna do 3 feet and we can do 3 inches and a half. But you gotta enter all the way out.
Okay.
This last one right here that says stop after last part, a lot of times if a contractor has multiple pieces the same length in different jobs, it's nice for them to say, yes, I do want to stop in between jobs because that gives them time to then do what they need with the panels, stack them, wrap them, whatever they need to do. If you're doing, a valley or a hip or something where you have different parts you have one piece the lengths, then you can leave that off and then it's gonna run each length for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and say yes on that right now, and then you just have to save it and it'll put it right there. So now if we're ready to add another part, we're gonna say add it at the bottom of the cut list because now we wanna keep going with our cut list. So we'll just do 2 more pieces and this one we'll just do 4 feet. Yes, and then save. So you can see it's just gonna keep doing that. So then the more jobs you have in there, the more you can move things around if you need to, if you forgot something.
Okay, so because this is set to stop after last part, it's gonna run these 2 pieces, then stop.
Then stop.
And then you're gonna have to hit continue or something to...
I have to tell it to run again to start. It's gonna automatically cycle to that next job.
Okay.
But it won't run until you tell it you're ready to again.
Got it.
So then it'll automatically start going down again.
Well, why don't we try not stopping after this part.
Okay.
And then we can stop after the last one.
So the easy thing to do is everything is on here is based off of what you see highlighted yellow there.
Okay.
So what you want to do now is we're going to edit that line item. So all I'm going to do is highlight that line item. We're going to hit edit part and I'm going to unclick this box and then we're going to hit save. So now it's going to show you that it's going to run this job and then it's going to automatically go down into the second job.
Okay.
And then it'll stop when it's done.
All right, sounds good. Let's run it.
All right, you're familiar with it as well. As soon as you move the peak, it cuts and you remove that piece. I think we have it set for about 1 second before the next piece starts going.
Okay, because of the proximity sensor in here.
There is the proximity sensor that's in here. You can see it right there with the light on.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what's gonna tell you when it's moved, and that is adjustable.
All right, let's do it. Look at that. Good work. Now I can hold this here and it's not gonna go,
You can hold it there for as long as you want. If you hold it there for longer than a minute, say if you walk off, go do something, if you hold it there for longer than a minute, it's gonna time out.
Got it. So then you'll have to start it again.
It'll take off from right where you left off, but all you gotta do is hit the run button.
All right, watch this. All right, Tim. Well, thank you for showing me how to run some panels.
You're welcome.
If you've got any questions, comment down below on this video or visit SheffieldMetals.com where you can build and configure your very own NewTek machine. Thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe here to the Metal Roofing channel. As always, I'm Thad Barnett. We'll catch you next time.